This little black book, this is a replica, the only one that's ever been done. This is a condensation of what was happening to Ben and Valerie Hogan when they were following the sun and having a hard time making it. They talked about how Mr. Hogan, how he finished 5th or 6th or whatever, and how much money he made, which was very little, how much they paid the caddy, which was very little. And you think, how did they hang on? And many of you know the story about when this little book reflected that they had $80-something left in the world, and Valerie told Ben, we gotta go home. We don't have any more money. That was that very famous tournament where they went out and getting ready to go to the course and somebody had jacked up the car and stolen the wheels. Well, in that tournament, Mr. Hogan finished 5th. And his check was $280-something. And if you've seen the video, he says it's the biggest check he ever got. And then with tears in his eyes, he said, it's the biggest check I ever got, because that was the turning point. Mrs. Hogan's little black book reflects that. The reason we have this copy, the only copy in the world of the little black book, is because Lisa Scott has faith in us through Robert Stennett. I don't know how you say thank you for that.
So on behalf of the board of directors of the Ben Hogan Foundation, we want to congratulate you. We want to say what a wonderful night it is to be here with you to celebrate the 100th birthday, and we want to congratulate you on the wonderful museum that you have to preserve the legacy that's very much worth preserving of Ben Hogan. We have a short message from our president. This is Lisa Scott. She is Mr. Hogan's great niece. She's the president of the Ben Hogan Foundation and wanted to send you a little message long distance.
Hello, Dublin. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight, but I wanted to say hello and offer my best wishes. I visited in May and I was very impressed with how the Ben Hogan Museum is progressing. I really appreciate all the hard work and dedication that you all have for the museum, and it really has come a long way. I think this would mean a lot to Uncle Ben, and I know it means so much to me and to the Ben Hogan Foundation. Our mission at the Ben Hogan Foundation is to preserve his legacy, and I feel that Dublin is doing just that. The museum is a great way to share his story and hopefully inspire those who see it for generations to come. I hope you have a great evening, and I know you will enjoy listening to Mike Wright. Thank you again for everything, and I wish you continued success.
I've told this story a couple times. So one day he came into the shop and he walked back into our bag room, and he hadn't been back there for a while. And he had his golf shoes on. I could hear him in the concrete floor of the bag room. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Now, it was common for him to go back and just grab his clubs. Now, he hadn't played for 2 or 3 years. He hadn't played golf for 15 years, but he would hit a lot of balls. So, but it was not uncommon for him to go back in the bag room and grab his clubs and just look at them and just hold them and think about it. It was exciting for the bag boys and for all of us when he came around. But this day I heard the golf shoes. And he walked out of the bag room with his driver, which is probably the hardest club to hit. And I didn't know this was going to be, in my mind, potentially and probably a historical moment. He walked out and he walked right in front of the golf shop, and I thought, well, this is strange. He hadn't hit balls in a couple of years, and he walked out and he teed up on our 10th hole at Shady Oaks, which goes directly south, but the flagstick was to the left and he was on the right, and he did everything about like you're supposed to do. He teed up the next ball, and you hear stories about Mr. Hogan's balls always being real close together, and this ball was truthfully about 5 yards from the other ball in the same place, hit just a tiny bit farther, maybe a yard or two farther. And so I was still kind of, well, what's going on? I took my binoculars and I looked out there, and he hit his third ball, and it was right beside those other two balls. And he walked out there and picked up those balls and walked in, and I am pretty sure those were the last balls he hit. And pretty unique that those balls would be within 10 yards of each other, 3 drivers in a row, by a man his age, in a perfect location there at Shady Oak. So, I feel pretty blessed to have witnessed that. Again, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure he never hit another ball after that.
And I paid the biggest price I ever paid for a stack of negatives, and all I could see was reverse images of Ben Hogan in a white outfit standing in a field, basically, with clubs next to him. And I thought, I have to have these. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I don't know what they are at this point, but I just love them and I bought them. It took me several months to figure out that they were, the illustrator would take the photos. He had to take this photo shoot. So once they figured out they were going to do the 5 lessons of golf, he called the photo shoot. They went out to Colonial, and basically Mr. Hogan explained the 5 lessons to the camera and to Herbert Warren Wind, who was taking notes and making recordings. And this is basically every picture you see in the 5 lessons. There's a picture. There's a real photo of Mr. Hogan. And he did such a great job. The book is, well, the one thing I thought was, there's a discussion in almost every clubhouse of who's the best golfer of all times. And Ben Hogan always comes up. Now, he doesn't always win with everyone, but Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus. If you include what he did for golf instruction, he wins, hands down, because he created this book. It's a juggernaut. It's sold, I think, now 12 million copies. If you go into Amazon right now, it's likely to be #1, #2, #3 every week, 50 years after the fact.